What's up, everybody? It's your favorite big competitor's favorite nerd, and today we are looking at the DX9 Gabriel. This is on loan to me from Jose S., who was kind enough to reach out and see if I was interested in taking a look, and I'm not really interested in taking a look, but I know a lot of people are, so here I am just falling on the sword for you again. There are a few accessories. We'll go ahead and take a look at them. Namely, this set of decals, which you can put on. It also says Destroyer Must Die, and there are Constructicons pictured on the box, so I wonder if they have those coming. Either way, it's fine. I also heard that it came with an alternate face, but I don't see it in the box, so I'm not sure what the deal is with that, but I think the facial expression was somewhat like this. And inside of the box, it comes like this, with the arms separated and the bot standing there by himself. Well, laying in styrofoam. So there is a bit of assembly required. If you take the arms, this piece right here slides in and then lays out for the ramp. You can use this as an opening to extend up the elbow. As a heads up, this is very tight, this connection, so be extremely cautious. I used the spudger and kind of wedged out these tabs here, but it is a bit of a pain. And then you just want to wedge it on in there, and it shouldn't really matter which way it goes. There is a spring-activated flap in here that helps keep pressure on her, so keep that in mind, but once it's in there, it should be good to go, and then you can rotate the bicep kind of as needed. Well, which way does this thing go? Alright, we'll spin it around. Same for this side, same issues here as well, but push that down, slide that in, and then push up your flap, and then sort your elbow as appropriate. So the head does have the windshield on. We have silver paint, and then we have, I think this is orange paint as well, and then blue paint over top of what seems like black paint to give the outline, which all looks good. Red paint here on the top of the head, all of that works well, and then the cannon articulates up and down on the back of the head. All that is good. You can lift up this windshield here. I'm not going to apply too much pressure. It's a very expensive piece, and I don't want to cause any damage to it. There we go. So that you can get a better look at it. Articulation-wise, I feel like it might be on a ball peg. I can't be no, there it is. You can extend it up a bit. So it's a hinge swivel, which is nice. You can get the head looking way down, well, not way down, but significantly down anyway, and up, and then the swivel, so really well done, and then you can just collapse it when you don't need it. Really, really smart. Really, really good design. For the chest, we have a lot of details. We have a lot of gunmetal paint, like in these little doodads here. It's throughout the piece, to be honest. We have the red and the yellow and the black all painted on. That looks good. The red translucent there at the chest, that looks good. And then the silver paint up there on the shoulders. No issues whatsoever. Tons of sculpted detail. Tons of little paint nuances. Good to go. Waist swivel. He's got that. It's ratcheted. And it's a little frustrating to get to from my vantage point. Good grief, but it is there. The shoulders has some interesting stuff as well. You do get a little orange paint in addition to the yellow plastic there to give a little variation. That's cool. Tons of little silver and gunmetal gray accents throughout. No issues there, nor complaints. The shoulders are on a universal joint basically. So they're ratcheted with a soft ratchet to get you all the way around. Well, not all the way maybe. Oh, yep, all the way. And then, not the best ratchet, but not a terrible one either. It does the job to get you out to the side, so no issues. Then the shoulder pad individually hinges at the same joint where the universal connection point is. Good to go. We have a bicep swivel. That's ratcheted. And then we have an elbow that gets you 90 degrees. No issues there. And at the elbow turn, you've got a lot of sculpted detail. It looks mechanical. It looks like part of the piece. Moving on to the wrist, you do get a swivel with the claws. Each claw is individually articulated at two places, both hinges, both ratcheted rather. It's not like she's ratchet, you know what I mean? And then you get a little effect there as well. Don't look directly into it. I did, and it sucked. Articulation is the same for the other side, with one well, not really an exception, but this has a trigger as well right there. For the hips, you do have hip flaps. They do hinge at both the front and the back to allow you to get movement of this universal joint that gets you all the way out to there Hopefully you can see that. Let me double check. So a decent range, I'd say, for sure. And then all the way back to there, so no issues. You also have hip flaps on the side that hinge up that allow you to get the leg all the way out past 90 degrees for the full Van Damme. So that's nice. The thigh swivel is ratcheted and built around the universal. Due to the sculpt of the thigh, you don't get a full thigh swivel. But like I've said 1,000 times, I don't think you need a full thigh swivel to get what you need out of a thigh swivel. Just a couple degrees of motion is all you should need to get your figures in most poses you'd like them to be in. So I'm okay with that. As for the thigh itself, you do get nice gunmetal gray painted there on the side and the back, so no issues there. And for the knee, you get 90 degrees, and then you get these pistons as like an extra added detail bonus that look very nice as well, and it looks like they're painted gunmetal gray. For the ankles, we have some interesting stuff. So you can rock this down on a double hinge, and that gives you the clearance to get a really great ankle rocker out of him. So you won't have any issues there. That's very nice. The problem is even utilizing both, there's no ankle tilt really up or down. And as a result, I do find that he does share some problems that the Fans Toys one has as well. But I do find that he has a tendency to want to lean back a taste as well, which we'll get to later. Don't you worry, we're going to talk about that. And he is very stable, but I do feel like if you had a little bit of an ankle tilt with a ratchet in there, you could fix a lot of those issues, and that is a bit of a setback there. At least it seems. And the back cleans up very nicely. And there he is next to the Fans Toys one. Let's talk about this for a bit. The truth is I like some things about the DX9 better than the Fans Toys and vice versa. Let me talk about what I like on the DX9 better than the Fans Toys. He is thicker. Like, his profile is thicker. If you look at the side of him versus the Fans Toys one is a lot thinner. And I do think that feels more right in regards to the character. I also think that the pelvis area is a lot cleaner on the DX9. Just the 3 flaps adds a lot to the look of the character, as opposed to kind of seeing all of the engineering on the Fans Toys one around the pelvis area. And lastly, I may like the gray better on the DX9, but sometimes I feel like I do, and then when I'm looking at the Fans Toys, sometimes I feel like I don't. It's one of those things where I guess it's going to depend on what mood you catch me. Now, in regard to the Fans Toys, I like a fair bit better on the Fans Toys than I do the DX9. I like the size better. I like the arch of the wings better. They fan out a bit more and they look a little bit more intimidating. I like the darker shade on the yellow. I like all of the little tech details. Now DX9 gives you the stickers, so that's fine, but I didn't have to apply stickers to my Fans Toys. I like the shape of the thighs better on the Fans Toys. I like the shape of the calves better on the Fans Toys, and I like the shape of the shin flap better on the Fans Toys. Now I think the one on the DX9 is more cartoon accurate. I just don't think it looks as good. But they both did a really, really great job. And looking at the two of them side by side, I don't consider one of them to be a drop down knockout over the other, not by any means. And after handling both of them, I can tell you that anyone that does consider one to be a knockout of the other, I would have to question whether or not they had handled both. And then when they say no, they only handled the one they bought, which they also consider to be the drop down winner over the other one, quietly back out of the room, because they're probably emotionally unstable. Size comparison wise, also there he is next to the Unique Toys Bruticus, which raises another question, which is if DX9 and Unique Toys are closely related company, if not the same company with different design, blah, 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 blah. And Omega Supreme is supposed to be the same size as Devastator, and Devastator is supposed to be about the same size as Bruticus. What are they doing? What are they doing? Other than driving me bonkers. All right, I make a salami sandwich, a couple pieces of bread, bada bing, a couple pieces of salami, put that on there, that should do it. Let's transform them. Remove the arm on both sides, collapse both, and then interlock the two. They have tabs and slots that correlate, and you have your rocket. Start by lifting up these yellow pieces here and here. Lift up on this back flap. Disconnect your wings. Make sure your shoulders are square and open up your shoulder pieces on both sides. Then lift up the bulk of the body and disconnect it. Rotate your shoulder up 90 degrees and into the side. Same for the other side. Up and in. Rotate your shoulder pieces down, and then your whole body down, and this piece plugs back into the top. Side flap and back flap up on both sides, and then rotate the hips back 90 degrees. Slide these pieces up and remove them. Feet flaps, disconnect them from the bottom of the foot, and then open up the entire shin assembly. On the inside of one piece on both legs, there'll be a little gray flap with 2 pegs that you can lift up. Then you'll find 2 flaps close to the foot. This one I need a spudger for. Then turn the top of the foot around 180 degrees so that all the tech details are facing up towards the thigh. Then the part on the inside of the shin that looks sort of like a Death Star wall, you want to rotate this piece so that the 2 yellow pieces are on the same side as the Death Star wall, which I will show you by lifting that up. And then rotate the entire piece up towards it. Then you want to bend here at this first screw below the thigh. As you do so, this other piece will come out, so you can bend that up. Then you need to split these 2 pieces. They're interlocked, so one has to come up and over the other. And it's hard for me to see what I'm doing, but you should be able to get it. And then make sure you flip your foot back down. At this point, you need to extend this whole section by rotating this piece out and then locking back into position. And do that for the other side as well. So let's do it again. Flip up these flaps that are closest to the foot. Spin the foot around 180 degrees. Make sure that your Death Star wall lines up with your 2 yellow pieces, and then collapse that around the Death Star wall. Bend your thigh and also move this piece in, and then make sure that you split these 2 pieces around one another. There, close your foot flap, expand your, I don't know, calves, and then interlock these 2 pieces towards the center. Open up your wings, and then these pieces extend as well. And on this side, fold down these locking mechanisms. And then these will go underneath the toes on Omega. Times 2. Open up on the bottom, flip over, make sure your locking notches are down, and then put them underneath the top of the shins. I'm not sure why I called them toes, but you know, what am I? An anatomy scientist. Then if you can manage to get this free, you can open this up, open this up, and you have a little ramp. And you can set your rocket ship in place. As a heads up, the top one has a ramp as well. And then on the back, you can plug these pieces into there. Just gotta make sure they're at the right angle. And then you're just left with this guy. Open up your side flaps, both sides. Push up from the bottom, which will help break this connection here and allow everything to lay sort of flat. Bring forward the front treads. This piece is on a slider. It all kind of needs to come together or it won't end up sitting right. Unfold your side pieces on both sides. And then on the top, rotate these pieces around 180 and they'll lock in on both sides. Rotate your rear treads out, and then you can secure them by rotating this flap down. Then line up your middle treads. 2 flaps down, 2 flaps up. You want to lift up this piece and fold this around so that this goes into that slot. Lift up the visor, lift up this piece, spin that around, which will allow the face to cover down, close it back up, close your visor. Using 2 sliders, slide your cannons to the front. It's a very tight connection. Finally got it. It was like watching paint dry or grass grow. Good mugga. And rotate your cannon around to the front. And there it is, and it's pretty impressive. I do feel like the tank is a little wide. I mean, it's nitpicky stuff. It just feels like it gets a little tight up in here, but I mean, it's so nitpicky. Like, it doesn't really even count. It does roll. It will come off the track, but as long as you kind of keep a hand on it, you should be fine. I don't really have any real issue with it. I think it's really quite well done. These cannons here do articulate up and down, and then of course you can use the same head articulation. If you pop this up and out to kind of rotate your cannon around. So that's cool. Here's Tiger Tracks making his way around. I think they did a great job. I don't really have any real complaints about this. You know, anything worthwhile anyway. I mean, you can always nitpick something to death, but for the most part, I think they did a pretty great job. I love the engineering of it. It still uses some parts forming elements, like the 2 yellow pieces, and the tank is a separate piece, obviously, and then the rocket ship kind of always has to be. But I think they did a pretty impressive job with the rest of it. Final thoughts wise, let's talk about the negatives. Some of the ratchets are extremely tight, especially the one in the waist and the one in the biceps. It feels like you're gonna break something, possibly your back, while trying to get it to move. Not the biggest deal in the world, but something worth mentioning. I really would have liked upward and downward ankle tilts. I would have also liked a heel spur. He does have a tendency to want to lean back. Neither one of these Omegas are 100% rock solid in the hip department. It's just a lot of weight that it has to support, and the ratchets have fairly wide teeth in them, which doesn't do the stability of the figure any favors. That being said, he holds a pose like a champ, so I don't think it'll bother you. It's just a matter of kind of manipulating it and working with it until you get it in the pose you want. And then the tolerance on those flaps on the arms are obnoxious, but not the biggest deal in the world. I do want to mention that there are some aesthetic things that do bother me about it. The ones that I kind of mentioned when we were doing the size comparison with the Fans Toys one, but none of that is a deal breaker. I also would have preferred it be Tampo paint instead of those stickers, but what are you gonna do? Positives wise, the engineering is awesome. It's a lot of fun, it's enjoyable, it's not frustrating, it's fairly intuitive and easy to work with. The articulation works across the board with the one exception of the ankle tilts up and down. There is a lot of paint on it, there's tons of sculpted detail, the plastic feels good, there's tons of hardware. Cleans up like a champ and has a strong presence. So I definitely recommend this. It's a great piece. In terms of recommending one over the other, this one of the Fans Toys, it honestly comes down to what you want out of it, namely aesthetics. So if you're trying to make a decision, I'd take a long look at both and try to figure out, let's see, I'm getting a phone call. I guarantee you that this is trash. Stand by. Hello? Hello?
Hi, this is Howard Williams with an important message about your vehicle.
Howard Williams, are you a real person?
Car's warranty.
Are you a real person, Howard Williams?
Something in the mail about your
Howard Williams, I'm starting to think that you're not a real person. You're not a real person, Howard Williams. Howard Williams, stop talking over me. Stop talking over me, Howard Williams. I'm the customer. I demand to be heard. And then he hung up. Rude. Anyway, it really comes down to what you like. I happen to like the aesthetics of the Fans Toys one better. I will say that this one is better engineered, but they both offer the same great presence, the same great articulation, the same great hardware, the same great display presence. So it really comes down to your personal preference. I haven't seen two companies approach the same character in such a knockout manner in a really long time. They both did a tremendous job. This DX9 one is better than I would have expected. Really quite well done. Strong recommend from me. So shout out once again to Jose for letting me take a look at this. And thank you for listening. Thanks for watching. Until next time, take care.